Hello viewers, it's me again. And while our resident techno-wizard was busy putting together systems and handling all that boring technical stuff, I was busy working on far more interesting things, like art. Now, I'm gonna level with you. Even a being of superior design such as myself cannot be good at everything. And thus, I will admit, while I have been gifted with many natural aptitudes and talents, the visual arts has never been my primary area of expertise. And yet, as creative executive officer and narrative director here at Lost Archive Studios, I found myself responsible for creating and shaping the game's artistic direction in the early days of development. If I had to sum up my opinions on my initial character mockups into one word, I would probably describe them as unsatisfactory. While it's clear I had some sense of direction for where I wanted to take the characters, the designs themselves were pretty rough. So much so that after spending several days trying to improve upon my designs, eventually I tried to enlist the talent of some artists advertising their services on the hyperweb. This was mainly just to see if they could adapt my basic concepts and create a simple human template that we could work off of. But unfortunately, in the end, I wasn't particularly impressed with any of the designs that the artists sent back. While they weren't necessarily bad, I felt their designs didn't quite capture that je ne sais quoi, that special, almost divine inspiration that I was searching for. And as a result, it became clear that I was going to have to go back to the drawing board and keep refining my designs until I produced something better, something truly unique, something altogether more amazing than anything that has come before it. Now look, I lack a lot of the artistic skills that help create good-looking art, including the ability to see colors properly, owing to the faulty sensors in my camera eyes. However, the one skill I do have is the ability to see strong shapes in my mind's eye. So in crafting a design, I generally know the broad strokes of what I would like the design to look like, I just don't know what steps need to be taken in order to get it there. And as a result, I end up having to design and iterate through brute force by making countless revisions. This is readily apparent when looking back at my early designs, but after many hours spent grinding away in Sprite, I was eventually able to develop a visual style that worked well for weapon designs, and then, in my great wisdom, I was able to use the lessons I learned from the weapons to reverse engineer the character designs until they looked the way that I wanted. In the early stages, I utilized references from a variety of fantastic indie titles, including Death Road to Canada, Enter the Gungeon, Streets of Rogue, as well as many others. But there was one major thing that needed to be adapted in order to make the game that we wanted to make. Fairly early on, we determined that we would have to increase the pixel count of our designs. Now, it's generally accepted that the higher your pixel count is, the longer it will take to make assets. In fact, it's pretty normal for a lot of freelance pixel artists to charge based on pixel count. But for a role-playing game, we wanted to make sure that human NPCs could look visually distinct from one another even without additional props, such as hats or accessories. Therefore, we decided to create larger characters, but to remain highly intentional with detail in order to keep the design language simple enough to cut down on how long it takes to make something. Through a lot of trial and error, we ended up with standard characters that are 43 pixels wide and almost 80 pixels tall, which is considerably bigger than a lot of similar pixel art games. But I knew that such an approach would allow us to create a great canvas that will be versatile enough for us to do a lot of impressive things with character designs in the future. For customization, we decided it would be best to split everything up into layers. That way we could mix and match different hairs, tattoo designs, skin colors, outfits, and other accessories to make characters that look meaningfully different from each other. In order to stitch these layers together, we'll be borrowing a technique from Streets of Rogue by having the majority of our sprites animate smoothly in-engine using the Unity animator. In fact, for the basic human characters, at the moment, the only parts of their body that are animated with pixel art are the legs, which for the time being only have a simple 4-frame walking animation. We intend to clean this animation up and potentially add more frames to make it feel smoother once the project is a little bit more content-rich, but it might be a little while before we get around to that, so bear with us for the time being. There are other elements of the character designs that could probably benefit from having animations, but right now we're far more focused on making content and systems for the game, so we'll be leaving that kind of visual polish till much later in development. At the end of the day, with my superior creative vision and intellect, it was probably best that I figured out the character designs on my own, as I always had a strong idea of how I wanted the characters to look, and it's simply unrealistic to expect a mere mortal artist to understand my substance-inspired artistic visions without some very good points of reference. But now that I've made some good points of reference, it's become a lot easier for me to explain the art style and what I'm looking for from an artist. Oh, and speaking of which, I'm very happy to inform everyone that we have successfully obtained the skills of an artist who has been gracious enough to join our team. We'll be introducing them and highlighting their work properly in future devlogs, but we did want to show off a taste of some of their fantastic work so far. Suffice to say, they've done an amazing job at expanding and enhancing the original art style, and they're a lot faster at making assets than I am, which is huge for a project with the amount of assets we are going to need. And it also has the added benefit of freeing me up to apply my fantastical talents to other elements of the project. To wrap up, I find myself fairly pleased with how the characters have turned out thus far, and I believe that our sprite layering system will allow for a huge amount of variation, both for our NPCs and our player characters. But that being said, I would still be eternally grateful if you could provide us with some honest feedback on our character designs and the art style in general. Whether you love it, hate it, or find yourself somewhere in between, your honest feedback and critique will be super helpful in informing our decisions as we continue to develop this game. So we'd really appreciate it if you let us know what you think about our character designs down in the comment section below. Oh, and with that, it looks like we're out of time for this week. We're going to wrap up this devlog so we can get back to work on the game, but look forward to hearing from us every couple of weeks going forward. We're aiming to publish a devlog on this YouTube channel about once every 3 to 4 weeks, but we're going to try and keep future devlogs shorter so that we don't get sidetracked by making YouTube videos such that it slows down our development progress. So, if you want to keep up with our development journey, be sure to subscribe and consider following us on our fledgling X, Bluesky, and Instagram accounts. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. We look forward to seeing you here again soon. Bye for now.